Well, it's that time of the week again for Sterlo's wrap-up. 19 rounds gone, a half a dozen to go. Peter Sterling, a big hello to you this Monday.
Hello, James. Yeah, half a dozen to go because this year's 25 rounds and we're going into round 20, so 6 weeks to make or break some teams, especially in regards to where they're going to finish in that top 8.
Yeah, still alive though, you think, that top 8 to number 9?
Yeah, no, look, West Tigers have been great and we'll get into their wonderful win on the weekend in just a moment, but I think the 8 we have will be the 8.
Okay, just looking to see how the order finishes up, as you say. Let's go back to Thursday night. It all kicked off with a battle of the battlers at ANZ Stadium. The Eels and the Bulldogs and Parramatta now a chance to get off the bottom of the ladder following that 14 points to 8 win.
Yeah, one of 2 matches on the weekend that had no direct influence on finals football, but obviously vitally important for these two teams in regards to avoiding the dreaded wooden spoon. Good win for Parramatta. Started slowly. The Bulldogs got that first try and actually could have scored another one, but they didn't get the right bounce from a Remus Smith kick. Didn't sit up for Lachlan Lewis, and Parramatta reacted to that and looked really good for that middle period of the game, and I think controlled the game, but started to get a little bit nervous late as well. So in the end, it was a pretty skinny margin. I thought the halves were good. I said last week I'd like to see more interaction between Corey Norman and Mitchell Moses. I think we saw that on a number of occasions. A couple of the young back rowers are playing very, very well, especially Moroa and Niokore. Look, it wasn't a great performance from Parramatta, but it was important for them just to get some confidence to hopefully get off the bottom of the ladder. They've now joined 2 teams but have the worst differential. That's something they need to work on.
They certainly do. Look, let's head to Friday night because there's plenty to talk about there. The early kick-off at Shark Park. Cronulla 28-24. We'll talk about the match first, Pete. They're flying along very nicely, the Sharks, and this was always going to be a danger game against the Canberra side with nothing to lose. Yeah,
I thought their first 40 minutes was excellent, Cronulla, and they were clearly the better side. But things turned around and turned around in fairly dramatic fashion. And again, we'll have a look at probably the most controversial game and moments we've seen through the course of the season. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of backlash or fallout comes out of it. But in regards to the 2 competition points, very, very important for Cronulla. Their spine is looking very, very good at the moment, and they've got Josh Dugan to come back into this team, as well as Luke Lewis. So on the park, they're doing some really good things. But in the end, I think they'll look back on this one. The momentum turned against them in the second half, and they didn't handle that particularly well. This worked in their favour. Now, we've still got 22 and a half minutes to go here. Now, this is no try on a number of fronts. Firstly, there wasn't enough definitive proof to overturn the on-field call of no try. The referee, as soon as he puts the flag up, that touchdown, once that flag goes up, play stops, as did some of the Canberra players. Katoa knows that he hasn't scored the try. He turns around 4 times. But in the end, that kicked the Cronulla side away and was obviously a pivotal moment in the game and put Canberra back on their heels to some degree. But then there was this. And this is a try. You know, this is clearly a pass that goes backward from Joseph Leilua. Now have a look. There's just under 12 minutes to play there. That narrows the gap to possibly 28-24 with still a lot of time on the clock. And the momentum had swung back to Canberra at this stage. And that's the big thing about this, about these calls, is where the momentum is and how it changes it. Now they scored another try after that one. But it was too late by then. I think they crossed with 3 or 4 minutes to go. But the momentum changed on the back of those 2 huge calls, which the referee's boss came out and said the day after was wrong. It didn't help Ricky Stewart. It didn't help the Canberra Raiders. It didn't help their season.
No, and the NRL had to concede on Monday that there was the try from the Roosters-Titans game, that was a no try as well. So you're talking about a couple of howlers, a couple of crucial ones that perhaps could have ended the Titans and then the Raiders' seasons. Is there an easy solution to this, Pete?
Well, no, there's not an easy solution, but there's obviously problems there that need to be addressed by the right people, and a lot of that is about the processes in regards to the bunker, the communications, how much of that, is there too much? We tend to think that is the case. And look, I thought Ricky Stewart handled it very, very well. You know, you're kind of thinking, you know, Ricky can get hot and flustered, and if ever he had reason to, it was out of this game. But I think he saw the overall bigger picture, which I think was really important, and made some very clear points that he feels that needs to be addressed. He said the first thing he did to go in and speak to his players was to sort of berate them for the fact they didn't play the whistle. Now, that's a really good way to do it. In the end, he sort of was pointed out, well, hang on, the flag went up and the whistle went to the mouth of the referee. That might have changed that course. But that was his first thought as to, okay, you know, what we did wrong to not win this game, but also through the course of the season. They haven't played well enough. It's just unfortunate that really the must-win game, which probably will cost them any chance of a hope of playing finals football, came about in such ordinary circumstances. And I've got to say, the very last call of the game was wrong too. The one-on-one strip, Josh Hodgson on Paul Gallen, the ball went back. Now again, it mightn't have made any difference to the overall result because there's only seconds to go, but it just leaves more of a bitter taste.
Certainly does. Lots to talk about in terms of the bunker and refereeing situation on the 100% footy on 9 later on your Monday evening. Let's talk about Friday's other game. We were there for this one on 9, the Broncos and the Panthers. Brisbane belted by the Warriors at home on Sunday, coming back with a bang and handing the Panthers their 4th loss in their last 5 games.
Yeah, it's a worrying time for the Panthers, but they've done enough good work early in the season to set themselves up to still be well placed, but now they've got to take advantage of that. To me, James, the 2 big things that came out of this match was firstly the magnitude of the win. The Brisbane Broncos are probably the best team, and it's down to Wayne Bennett at bouncing back. They got beaten by 20, got pumped by 20 the week before by the Warriors. Wayne Bennett took it in his stride, said, look, you can have those kind of performances. He's very, very good at getting his team up the following week. Hates to put losses back to back, as all teams do. Brisbane, very, very good in that department. I didn't think it was going to be such a scoreline in that favour. It was 32-0 at half-time. The other thing that I thought was particularly significant and will continue to be, Azarko goes back to fullback and Darius Boyd into the centres. Now, I feel as though that is what we're going to see from here on in from the Broncos. Maybe it's addressing the fact that Darius Boyd doesn't have that top end speed anymore. Yep. And the sides that are going to do well in the competition come finals football have a lot of thrust from their back. And Asako, who's had a great season, provides that. So the size of the scoreline surprised me. I think the other big thing is the positional change, only 7 weeks out from finals football in regards to the Brisbane Broncos. I'm not too concerned by the Penrith Panthers. I think that they will hit back. Their roster and their squad is too good not to react to that and be playing some really good football in a short period of time.
All right, they've got a vulnerable Manly side coming up this weekend. 50 points to 18 there to the Broncos. Plenty of tries between the Knights and the Titans in the early kick-off on Saturday. We saw Newcastle impressive against the Eels the week before, and they've backed it up, Pete.
Yeah, 2 games back for Mitchell Pearce, 2 wins, 2 narrow wins. That's no coincidence. The Newcastle side trailed 24-10 in this game, so they had to dig themselves out of a deep hole here. The game did turn around a little bit for the Gold Coast Titans when they lost AJ Brimson through injury. Thought that had a really detrimental effect on their performance, but great work from the Newcastle side to dig deep the way that they did. Pearce was very, very good, but I thought the stars for them in this game were actually their back rowers. Lockie Fitzgibbon and Mitch Barnett were outstanding. Connor Watson was particularly good as well. So they're a long way off the bottom of the ladder. They're making continual improvement. And Nathan Brown, who we had on the Sunday Footy Show, said they're looking to recruit some quality going into next year as well. So the building steps are coming along nicely.
Yeah, looking very good at the moment. It was all about John Sutton for his 300th game, the first Bunny to notch that milestone as the Tigers and Souths went head-to-head. But that 9-match winning streak for the Bunnies, gone. It's over, 22 points to 6, and the Tigers claim another big scalp.
Well, in the end, it was as much about Robbie Farah's 250th game, wasn't it, for the Wests Tigers, the first Tiger to achieve that in the new joint venture. So, a good performance from the West Tigers here, who now have beaten the 2 competition leaders in consecutive weeks. Very good against the Dragons last week. Outstanding against South Sydney in this game, who I thought just looked off the pace. They just looked a little bit flat. And I'm going to give an illustration in a moment, but I just thought it was a really comprehensive performance from the West Tigers. Defensively, they were at their best. Now, that's in the opening weeks. They beat Melbourne twice. They beat the Roosters and were controversially beaten by Brisbane 9-7 in Golden Point, right, where they didn't concede a try in that game as well. We're seeing that kind of defence from them, but with the acquisition of Moses Mbai and Robbie Farah coming in as a specialist dummy half, they've now got more points in them. Yep. So that's the great combination. Defensively, early on, they were great, but really couldn't score many points. Now they look much more dangerous with the football, and I thought that it forced the South Sydney side to be impatient. And these 2 kicks here from Adam Reynolds, to me, sort of indicates that was the case. He just didn't get his kicking game right in regards to where they were travelling at the time, and there was an impatience about the way he kicked the football in this game. So they'd won 9 in a row. Can understand maybe they were lacking a little bit of intensity coming into this game. But again, they're well placed, still on top of the ladder.
Job done for the Raiders, for the Rabbitohs, looking very good with the Tigers coming up trumps in a game full of milestones. Townsville was the scene, though, for another Cowboys loss. This time the Dragons bouncing back from a couple of rough weeks, 24 points to 10, Pete, and looking classy.
Yeah, it was really important after 2 straight losses for the Dragons just to steady the ship once again. And look, I didn't think they were great, and that probably indicates how poorly the Cowboys are going at the moment. They look predictable, they still look slow, and they just look devoid of ideas and down on confidence.
Which is staggering when you look at the team on paper.
Well, that's a great thing about our game. It's not played on paper. So, but important win for the Dragons. Tyson Frizzell missed this game. Tarek Sims went from his normal side of the field over to where Tyson normally plays on that right-hand side and terrorised Jonathan Thurston. He was in his face, and all teams that have had success this year against North Queensland, and there have been plenty of them, have put a lot of pressure on the North Queensland playmakers with good results.
Let's get to Sunday, the early kickoff. The Warriors and the Warriors and the Storm. This one was in New Zealand, 12-6. This is a dour affair, but it was Melbourne doing what Melbourne do best in a trialless second half, just grinding out a win, 7 straight and top of the ladder, Pete. Yeah,
it didn't start out in a dour fashion. There were 10 points scored in the first 10 minutes, but then we get another 8 in the next 70. And we hear the word strangled in this game, and the Melbourne Storm are very, very good at doing that. I've said that Cameron Smith is the most influential player because he regulates the tempo of games. If he wants the side to play quick and to speed it up, he plays up tempo. But when the game needs to be slowed down, which on this occasion in the second half was pretty much a majority of it, he's very, very good at just getting the tempo to where he wants his team to be. So Stephen Kearney came out. He was quite critical of the fact that they were given an email from the hierarchy saying that they were going to be a little bit more harsh in regards to slowing down in the play the ball area. He didn't think that was the case at all. He felt Melbourne got away with too much in that area, and I think he had probably cause for concern.
Well, if the Storm are premiership favourites, this team, the Roosters, cannot be far behind. It was a clinical display against the Manly Seagulls at Brookie, 56 points to 24, and they just made it look so easy, Pete.
Yeah, and Trent Barrett said it was almost like watching boys play men. And when you watched the game, you had to agree. At half-time, he really didn't have much to say to them. In fact, he walked out and left Cherry Evans to speak to the side for 5 minutes, and that was an indication of how upset he was or disillusioned with that kind of performance. But look, all you can say is that the Roosters, the last month, have really started to show that the combinations are working. They've got a great roster. They've got a lot of strike power. Manly now looking over their shoulder because only 2 points in front of the 3 sides sitting on the bottom rung of the ladder. So they are in serious situation in regards to the wooden spoon because differential is going to come in both the top of the ladder, in maybe securing a spot, but also I think down the bottom of the ladder as well, and Manly are now in that mix.
And they've never claimed one before either.
No.
So a bit of a battle going on at the bottom. The Storm, Dragons, Rabbitohs and Roosters, your top 4. It's a damn good one. Who's your premiership favourite out of that bunch?
I think the Roosters are.
Yep.
Yeah, I do. Look, I'm a Penrith fan. I still think if they get their best side on the field, that they can win this competition. The Sharks worry me, but in answer to your question, I think the Roosters are my favourites at the moment.
Great stuff, Pete. Good to chat. There it is. Sterlo's wrap up after 19 rounds of the competition. Half a dozen to go. We'll catch you next week.